All right, so we thought we'd just start with a little reminder of who we are as an org, just in case it's been a while since you've interacted with us last. Social Justice Fund Northwest is a funded foundation that supports the creation of a just society through fundraising, grant making, and member involvement. The foundation provides essential resources to organizations in Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming to strengthen grassroots efforts in the broad-based movement for progressive systemic social change. So basically, we are funding community organizing that seeks to address the root of the problem, working to find systemic solutions, often funding orgs that are ignored by mainstream or traditional philanthropy.
And you might be wondering, how are we defining rural organizing? And so, for the context of this giving project, we'll be funding community organizing happening in small towns, reservation communities, and outside of urban and metropolitan areas across Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming. We know that rural organizers are cultivating strong community networks in the face of huge hurdles, such as far-right state governments, white supremacist strongholds, underfunded infrastructure, food apartheids, massive wealth disparities, and constantly rising costs of living, including rent. Although 20% of people in the US live in rural areas, they only receive about 7% of philanthropic dollars. So as a result, we're prioritizing moving money to rural movement work, which this Momentum Giving Project embodies. SJF is aware that rural and small town communities can look different state to state. So we begin our definition of rural in the US Census data. We use a map, which this slide deck, which will be sent to all participants, has a link to. And in that map, it shows areas designated as rural or urban, which we use to help us determine whether a grantee or a project is in a rural or urban area. So, after consultation with rural organizers in our granting region, we consider any location in this map that's marked gray or purple to be rural for our grant evaluation and priority assessment. In addition to that, grant applicants can always offer additional information in their application on why their work should be contextualized as rural.
Thanks, Adiza. So just for some examples of who past rural organizing projects have funded, um, we just wanted to pull a few so that you have a sense of sort of like what kind of work is out there and what kind of work past giving projects or giving panels have ended up funding. So, Shelter JH is based in Wyoming, and they described their work for the Rural Organizing Grant as follows. Shelter JH builds grassroots and political power so that all community members can live locally, creating a more resilient and just future for Jackson Hole. They host educational election season events and endorse housing champion candidates, partner with numerous organizations to further local and state political objectives, and empower supporters to lobby representatives regarding local development projects. They are currently focusing on deepening their outreach with immigrant communities by building up Latinx organizers from their current base. So that's Shelter JH. The next one we wanted to highlight is Unite Oregon, based in Oregon, of course. And they described their work as led by people of color, immigrants, and refugees, rural communities, and people experiencing poverty. Unite Oregon organizes statewide to build a unified intercultural movement for justice. Their awarded grant supported the Rogue Valley chapter's capacity to ensure a supportive organizational structure that centered community-determined priority issues: affordable housing, economic justice, youth leadership development, and immigrant rights. Third example of past grantees is North Idaho Pride Alliance. They are an organization of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning intersex and allied people and community groups working together to create a unified North Idaho. They accomplish this through building a network of intentional relationships in their community, educating the community about LGBTQIA+ issues and the lived experience of LGBTQIA+ people and their allies, and advocacy to create a cross-cultural movement, a cross-movement culture for advancing LGBTQIA+ equality. And then the last example, just so you get a sense of sort of the wide breadth of grantees, is the Crow Language Consortium, which is based in Montana. The consortium brings Crow people together around language, an irreplaceable facet of their culture and heritage. CLC is a collective of Crow schools, colleges, and educators working to preserve the Crow language to ensure they can pass it on to future generations. They develop language materials such as textbooks, dictionaries, flashcards, posters, and more, provide access to apps and multimedia, and organize intensive teacher training and workshops. There are lots more grantees on our website if you would like more information or more examples, so we encourage you all to check it out.
So as alum, you all are familiar with what a giving project is, but we just wanted to briefly overview the major tenets of a giving project and also tell you where and how a momentum giving project differs. The first is that both giving projects and momentum giving projects are both purposefully cross-class and cross-race spaces, which seeks to upend traditional philanthropy models where usually white, wealthy, highly educated donors, often with a savior complex or charity mindset, do the majority of donations and also deciding where the money goes. Instead, momentum giving projects and giving projects value the resource of lived experiences and cultural understandings, which folks who aren't wealthy or white or marginalized folks in general add to movement spaces. The second is that in a momentum giving project, we offer political education on the justice area, in this case on rural organizing. But because you all have already done a deep dive on your race and class identities in your previous giving project experience, we can move a little bit more quickly in the momentum giving project because we know that you have that knowledge base already, and then we bolster it with the race caucus spaces. Third, in giving projects and momentum giving projects, everyone gives a meaningful gift. What's meaningful looks different to everyone, right? Especially in an intentionally cross-class space. Although we encourage everybody to step into a space of discomfort and push your own boundaries without compromising your financial position and making your meaningful gift.
Awesome. Thanks, Adiza. The fourth tenet of both a momentum giving project and a regular giving project is that you will fundraise from your friends, your family, and your peers. We will review the fundraising schools you learned in your previous giving project and remind you how to engage your community in the issue area, in this case, rural organizing. And we'll also offer individual coaching support through any challenging moments that come up. Number five is connected to number two, which Adiza talked about in terms of political education. We will have guest speakers come in, organizers who are doing the organizing in rural areas in our five-state region to help us better understand the struggles and fights paramount to rural organizing in the Northwest and Mountain West. Sixth is you will be grant reading and grant scoring. And the cohort will decide as a collective to whom to distribute what you fundraised. And then last, central to this work, as you may remember, is building a strong base among ourselves and learning from each other in fundraising efforts and in political education. So we hope that you would come out of this space with new friends, allies, and community that you can continue to build with and engage with. Folks you're politically aligned with who can be a support system for you beyond the Momentum Giving Project. So next up, we're going to talk through some of the expectations, commitments, and logistics so you have a sense really of what you're getting yourself into.
All right, so we are going to overview the schedule. And as you'll see, there are 9 sessions total. We start meeting in early September, and then we'll end the Giving Project in early January. This Momentum Giving Project will be fully on Zoom, right? So fully virtual, meeting mostly on Wednesday evenings, and then our decision-making days will be the first weekend of December. Please note that we will be done with all fundraising and grant making by early December, and it's just the final celebration that will take place in the new year in early January. So the hard work will be done from September to December.
And I could say, as an alum of both a 6-month giving project and a 3-month momentum giving project, the momentum project will feel fast. You'll start fundraising almost immediately in September, and you'll start grant scoring in late October, which means you'll have 6 weeks of fundraising time that doesn't overlap with grant scoring, and 5 weeks to score grants alongside fundraising, finishing up both fundraising and grant scoring by the end of November. Super exhilarating, very exciting. I found that it was really amazing to see how my cohort was able to build community online in just 3 months and how much we were able to fundraise in that short time frame. The Queer Justice Momentum Giving Project ended up granting out more than $400,000, which was like awe-inspiring for me. I am still thinking about the experience and was really excited about sharing space with folks, as I mentioned earlier before we started recording, who are coming from lots of different places because it was an online project. So we had folks from Washington, Oregon, New York, and even Canada. And the truth is, I haven't met many of them in person yet, but I think about them often and feel a lot of kinship with them still. So if you're nervous about joining because it's online and you're nervous about whether the community building is possible, it definitely is. I can attest to it, and we had a really great time together. Go back to the full slideshow. So, SJF is engaged in trust-based philanthropy, and that means we center our work on relationships. The premise of any giving project is relationship building with the cohort. We need your participation and your input to make it all work. It's a group effort, and if you aren't able to meet the minimum requirements, you will unfortunately be holding the group up. So if you can't meet these expectations in this list at any point in the Momentum Giving Project, you can't expect that we'll reach out to have a conversation about whether you have the capacity to continue on in the project and whether Adiza and I have the capacity to provide necessary support so you feel confident and successful. So just to run through these, you are expected to attend all sessions, but particularly the 3 required sessions, which are the introduction session, the grant making review, and decision making days. We expect that you will schedule and attend any one-to-one meetings with facilitators that you're asked to do. Also, that you'll inform us of any sessions you'll miss, even if it's same day or even during the session. We just like to know. We would expect that you complete any pre or post-session work within 1 week of the session date if you miss a session. That you respond within 48 hours to any outreach from us via email, text, or phone call. That you will participate in fundraising and scoring grant applications. And that you will reach out proactively to us and fellow cohort members if you have any support needs. So really, communication is key, and that's what we really want to highlight here. So if you have any access needs to participate in this giving project, we would love to know. We highlight this because it is in the application, but we just want to make sure that people know the various kinds of options that are available. Um, some common access needs we can meet include tech support, so things like Wi-Fi hotspots or loaner laptops, childcare payments, live captioning, and also language interpretation. So if any of these things are examples of things that you might need, just let us know in the application. We're going to link it here at the end of the presentation. And if there's anything else that's not on this list that you might need, you can let us know and we can figure out if that's something that we can help with.
Thanks, Emily. All right, so to give you all a kind of big picture look at what the impact of giving projects is, we wanted to provide you with some stats. So the total amount raised from giving projects since 2010 is $11,958, over $11,958,000. And so almost $12 million. It's a lot of money. Um, Over 8,700 donors have been engaged. And the total GP alumni is almost 900. So we share these statistics to just impress upon you all that you're part of a huge community that has done some amazing fundraising and resourcing together. And so we would love to invite you to deepen your connections within this interconnected web of folks, and potentially meet new people to build with in this Momentum Giving project. And just a note that we are currently still wrapping up our tenant and housing justice giving project. And so these stats don't represent any of the numbers from this current cohort. So exciting. We'll update it after this cohort finishes their work.
Yeah, and the numbers will go up. Whoa,
Yay.
yay. Also, look how cute this other Zoom cohort was. This could be
Mhm.
you.
This was 2024. Look at our smiling faces.
Ugh.
All right. So here we are at the end. In terms of next steps, the direct next step, if you're interested, is to apply to the Giving Project. The link is in these slides. Again, these slides will be sent out with the recording. And the deadline to apply for this Momentum Giving Project is August 6, 2026. After we receive your application, we'll reach out to schedule an interview with you, which is really a casual conversation to get to know a little bit more about you and also to have you get to know a little bit about us as facilitators and ask any lingering questions you might have. So we definitely encourage you to apply as soon as you are able. And again, the application deadline is August 6th. So we want to note that if you're interested in participating in giving projects in other regions across the United States, maybe you're no longer in the Pacific Northwest area or the Mountain West area, but you're interested in engaging in work in your own region, or you want to spread the word to community. There are 8 other funds across the United States, continental United States, and Hawaii that host giving projects. And so please, if you're curious, check out their work and learn about the giving projects that they are hosting themselves. Um, yeah, again, we'll send the slides out so you have the links embedded in all of these slides. And that is all. We'll go over any questions now.
Can you hear my dog barking in the background or no?
Not anymore. We just heard one bark and
Okay,
then it's
great.
quiet now.
Zoom is pretty good at blocking it out, but I just thought I'd make sure. Aviva, do you have any questions or do you want to put anything in the chat?
I don't have any questions. Thank you. I was just trying to think.
Great. Okay, cool. Well, in that case, we can just tell you and those watching the video that the recording will be put onto the website, and we'll send it out as well. If you have questions, feel free to email at info@socialjusticefund.org. And then also, if you have any fellow GP alums from the GPs that you were part of in the past that you think might be interested to apply, please let them know about the opportunity because we'd love to have a lot of folks in this cohort.
Mhm.
Um, so thank you so much. I'm going to stop recording.